How's it going? This is Jeff with Final Boss. I have a very interesting discussion to discuss today, which is how can I build reader interest from the first paragraph of my stories, short and long fiction. So from the very beginning, line one, tension. How do I make that interesting? And so one of the first things I think this requires is self-awareness about you as a writer and about the story you're writing. And this kind of goes to the previous little writing tip that we recorded, which was about, hiding the best bits. And that's actually the last thing you want to do, right? You want to lead with your strengths, lead with your best ideas, lead with what makes your story unique. Um, Thanks for the follow. But you want to lead with what makes your story pop, what makes your story unique. So, a great example of that is if you have a really strong narrative voice. If you're going to be using an omniscient narrator with a really complex, self facing voice, you're going to want to lead with that, right? Like, if that's going to make your story just the next level, that needs to be just, you have to have the best moment of that narrator in line one. If it's going to be dialogue or interesting character, that character needs to have a kill. I mean, in all of your writing, the first thing a character says or the first introduction of the character is the most important moment in that character in the book. So that's even more so for if you're introing with a character, that first character moment needs to have just the absolute punch of who that character is. And it could go with, if you're leading with setting or with world building, those elements need to be there as well. So I'm going to read a few examples very quickly, and then we're going to kind of go into this with more detail. So this is a middle grade book called The Blackthorn Key. I got this as an advanced reader copy. So maybe it's changed since then, but it is what it is. So the first line of this book, "Let's build a cannon," I said. Tom wasn't listening. So immediately we know, and this is a middle grade book, so we know it's a young character. Let's build a cannon. And obviously it's a kind of like the cover gives you some information, but we immediately know that this character is adventurous. There's going to be conflict. It's a suggestion of conflict. That's kind of the second point. A suggestion of a story, a suggestion of tension. But I want to get into that a little bit later. But yeah, you do want to hint at the story that will emerge out of this. So the second one I want to read is The Princess Bride. If you've not read this book, take it off your shelf and read it, or buy it. It's an amazing book. But this is by the so the narrator, and this is kind of when I talk about the narrator, the like William Goldman, who's the actual writer of this book, pretends that he found this book, like this was a book he wrote in his childhood and he's adapted, right? So in this one, you know, it's still my favorite book in all the world, and more than ever, I wish I'd written it. I wish I'd written it. Sometimes I like to fantasize that I did, that I came up with Fezzik, my favorite character. That my imagination summoned the Iocane sequence and the ensuing battle of wits to the death. You know, that intro is what's it showcasing? What's it showcasing? It's showing us that the narrative voice in this book will carry the book. And so it's giving us a hint of what's to come, and it's giving us it's giving us this taste of the story while also leading with its front foot really well, right? So this one tells us, oh hey, this narrator is going to be hilarious. It's going to have oh gosh, this is Oathbringer. This is not the first Way of Kings. Um, so again, this is kind of a I thought I had found the Way of Kings first book, but this is Oathbringer. So the first, and this is a sequel. So maybe this is actually a good example because it's a sequel, and it's leading with a character. Eshonai had always told her sister that she was certain something wonderful lay over the next hill. Then one day she'd crested a hill and found humans. So again, we're starting with his prejudice, this character's prejudice, right? This alien character hates humans, and so that immediately tells us there's going to be conflict. There's going to be this thing moving forward, and it also gives us a really sharp picture of this character. Not as florid as the other two. You know, Brandon Sanderson is much more. He's trying to get to the conflict and get to the story. He's not throwing as many bells and whistles in, but that's, I think, one of the biggest things. Lead with your concept. If your character is your strength, you know, if your character's your strength, like in Blackthorn Key, have his wacky first line be in there. Hook us in. Show us, hey, showcase that character first. If your narrative voice is your strength, showcase your narrative voice from page one. If your world building is your strength, right? Because like the evil humans is kind of a world building note. Brandon Sanderson is leading with these world building. All these writers are self-aware. All of them are thinking about what is this story really going to do, and they're leading with that. Literally line one, every single one of them, line one that is happening, and all those lines have a suggestion of more to come, right? You know, William Goldman is hyping up the story he's about to tell with this wonderful narrative voice. This other kid's about to build a cannon, and then obviously we know that there's going to be some really big world level conflict between what's going on. The other thing I would suggest is starting in the middle of action, right? Like this the Blackthorn Key, the middle grade book, does that a little bit better, right? Um, where like they're not introducing, they're not saying, hey, what do you want to do today? Are you bored? Are you tired? No, he's just starting with, let's build a freaking cannon. We've gotten past all the intro bits of that conversation and gotten straight to let's build a cannon. So cut to when that kind of crux moment happens, and we know a story is going to emerge out of it. And also know the different parts of what compose. This is my last note, and this is more of a technical note, which is know the different parts of what goes into a scene. Scene description, dialogue, character action, a narrative voice. All those different things factor into scenes in different orders and different ways and can create different effects. So be conscientious. Okay, if I'm starting with scene description, it's going to be slower, right? It's going to pace slower if I'm just describing the room. So I need to kind of do maybe what you said earlier, where maybe I will want to add something strange or unique in a little bit earlier to make that scene description have a hook in it and have a suggestion of something interesting to come. Some of you also asked questions. I was reading the chat briefly about a crazy, wild, strange hook that has a lot of mystery. But again, you run into that problem of mystery versus clarity. So you can get away with that, but you'll want to, unless you're really, really deft and you've done this a lot before, you'll want to go ahead and clarify what's going on, or have some characters' interior thoughts, interiority, kind of give us the clarity context pretty soon after. But there are some trade-offs with like leading with something that's just really confusing, because you want it to be universal, right? Like this is a book. All these books are set in different time periods. They're all fantasy in certain ways, but they're all starting with stuff that's understandable, that's clear, right? Let's build a cannon. Everybody knows what building a cannon is for a little kid. Yes, that's set in the past, but that's a universal thing. A self-effacing narrator is a universal, like storytelling is a universal thing, and then having a strange alien race come in is a universal thing, but they're not using magical la words. They're using words like humans and all these things to clarify what's going on. I'm going to read chat really quickly. Yes, we want to meet Fezzik. Yes, but the angst, I haven't read it. Yes, I've read it and hated it. Yeah, it's different books for different folks. But again, like that's why those writers lead with what they're going to do. Because if you hate books where the narrator is really in the book, like the narrator is a very present narrator. It's not like Brandon Sanderson where it's very zoomed out. So tell your readers that. Lead with saying, hey, my narrator is going to be front and center this whole time. He's going to be talking to you. And that's one of the things, is if you say, hey, I hate books that do that, boom, line one, you can put it away. But those people that love it, they will know what to do. Also like stories. For myself, slipping into a story is key. Yeah, and then leading into the story. Yeah, let's say a story starts with a character alone in a room. Yeah, but it's much harder, because then you from the line one, right? Like from line one, these people are giving a hint of emotion, of a direction, right? All of them is like, let's build a cannon. I know, like, you don't have to. You're not in the mechanics of the scene at that point. You're feeling like the kind of the charismatic kid leading his reluctant friend into trouble. Like, it gives you that hint of what's about to happen. I think that's what's so critically important. Is that has to happen from line one. And if you start alone in a room, there has to be something from line one that's going to suggest what's going to be the conflict of alone in the room. Where is that going to develop? Anyways, this is like one of my longer writing tip videos, so I hope this is helpful. If this is useful, like the video. I'll make more of them. If it's not useful, let me know on Twitch and give me some suggestions for useful tools. Like, I've been considering doing some book reviews and stuff like that. So let me know what's helpful for you all in your writing journeys, and good luck and take it easy, everybody.